The M340i slots into the BMW 3 Series lineup between the more daily-oriented 330i and the more hardcore M3 as this sort of Goldilocks do-it-all car. And I drove the 2022 last year briefly, but this year I have the 2023 facelift version, and I've had this one for about a week. So let's go ahead and see what's new and see how this thing has been to live with. Under the hood of this G20 M340i, that is the 7th generation, we have a tried and true and very familiar B58 motor. It's an inline 6 with twin turbos, and it makes 382 horsepower and 368 pound-feet of torque. Also, last year they added the 48-volt battery, so it is a mild hybrid system. It's not a full-on hybrid, and we'll get into what that means when we get to the driving portion. BMW offers some pretty nice colors, so I was a little disappointed to hear that the two new colors for this year are both gray, Brooklyn gray and skyscraper gray, with this one being skyscraper gray. I would definitely lean towards one of those blues. This one here, as I mentioned, skyscraper gray, it's got the extended shadow line package, so you've got a lot of black trim around and black mirrors. It really helps the look a lot. Overall, this thing is about 186 inches long, just under 186, which is pretty big for a 3 Series. This thing just keeps growing. About 3,800 pounds as well. About 112-inch wheelbase, nice and long, will help with sure-footedness in the corners and will help with that ride quality, but that is getting pretty long. But for a car that is 186 inches long, your standard wheels are going to be 18s and they're going to come on run flats, but this one here has the 19s with the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. Now you can get 19s with run flats or non-run flats. The Pilot Sport 4S summer tires are non-run flats, and these are the ones I would probably recommend. And you've got the throwback roundels in there. No, we've got the red brake calipers. These are Brembo sourced 4-piston brake calipers. The standard ones would be blue. This one obviously has the red ones on it though. Do have a little bit of a moonroof up top. We got the cameras poking out from the mirrors here, blind spot monitoring, integrated turn signals, the camera for that whole 360 view. And then we also have touch to lock and touch to unlock here, touch inside to unlock, touch the top to lock. But this one will actually lock and unlock as you walk away and walk back towards it as well, which is actually a little bit annoying, honestly. Every time I get close to it, it unlocks. Every time I walk away, it locks. Sometimes I just want to leave it unlocked if it's in my garage or something, but you can adjust that through the settings in the infotainment. Nice looking car from the side, but again, I just wish it were in a nicer color. There it goes. Especially when I'm filming, it's a little bit annoying. I get close to it, it unlocks. I just want it to stay. But up front, you can see here that we have some updates to the grille. You really kind of have to be looking closely or have to have them side by side, the last year and the facelift version this year. Really, mostly it's in this shape here. You got the big cutout there and some of the shape around here. You got some changes in the headlights as well. Shadow line trim on this one, so we have the black around the kidneys. We still have the smaller kidneys, which I like. I don't like the big honking kidneys on the new ones. We got the active shutters here, so when this starts up, those will all open up. Your integrated turn signals around the edge here, daytime running lights, LEDs, full LEDs here. Really good visibility at night. The visibility at night is excellent. Auto high beams that work really well as well. And we've got the throwback roundels. Those are an option for this year because it is in celebration of 50 years of BMW M. Got some more updates in the back here, with the biggest one being this swath of black through here. Giving me a little bit of WRX vibes, not my favorite. I definitely liked the design back here of the 2022, the pre-facelift. But just throwing that out there, we got the trapezoidal exhaust here as well. M340i logo, full LEDs back here, more of those throwback roundels, another one of those throwback roundels. Your rear parking camera, we have an option to press there or press here on the key to open up into 17 cubic feet of space with a 40-20-40 split back there. And we just have the battery underneath there. No spare tire in this one. So I love the way that BMW does interiors in general. They're just like premium without a lot of these gloss blacks everywhere. Love their big beefy steering wheels. There have been a couple of updates for this year. Some good, some not so good, so we'll get through that as we go. But like I mentioned, big beefy steering wheel, absolutely love the feel of this thing. Leather wrapped, very nice. It's got your buttons laid out here. Buttons are, a little bit of gloss black going on there. Your cruise control, your speed limited cruise control, if you just want to set it to the speed limit. Some controls for voice, for controlling infotainment, controlling your digital display up here. Nice big digital display going on. It changes with your different driving modes. Looks really appealing to the eye in all different modes. Very easy to read, very well laid out, and just appealing in general. I do like a big center tack generally, but I really have no issues with this one other than that. Heads-up display, very simple, current speed, and it'll tell you, what you're set to if you have your cruise control on. The layout changes a little bit with the different driving modes, but simple, clear. You can adjust the position, adjust the rotation. That is totally fine, no issues there. Not a deal breaker for me, not one of those things that's like I definitely have to have that, but it is a nice convenience feature. Looking around the cabin, we have the Vernasca leather on this one, the red Vernasca leather. That's the real leather. The standard is the Sensitech, which comes in a few different colors, and that's going to be your synthetic leather. A couple of, you do have some plastics for cost savings, but they're at least soft at the touch points. Really nicely done interior, generally speaking. You got the big sunroof going on, your auto dimming mirror. You got your infotainment controls down here, as well as the touchscreen. That part of it hasn't changed. You could always use the controls down here if you wanted. You got all your parking buttons, because this one has the parking assist package, so it'll help you get into a spot if you're trying to parallel park. Also has all the cameras with the 360 view. It'll even give you the lines for where your wheels are with the overhead view, so that you can line up your car just right in the car wash and get those paint swirls going. Driving mode buttons, they did change the gear shift, which I really don't like, this little nub. I wish they would have kept the other gear shift where you just kind of pop it into the right spot. It just kind of had its own specific spot for everything. It wasn't all in a row, and it wasn't a little nub. It was actually something beefy you could hold onto, the little park button on the back. Now the park button's kind of integrated in here. It's just kind of flat, and so you could be going for a mode and like a driving mode and accidentally hit the parking button. Maybe that's a little nitpicky, but I don't really love the new gear shift. Got the aluminum all around. Glad they didn't go with gloss black there. Always love that choice. Your cup holders back here, USB port. The cup holders are fine. They're out of the way, unless you are like, we got America problems here with the giant cups. So if you have your big gulp, it's gonna rub up against the front here. Wireless charging is an option. That's a $200 option that this one has. Wireless charger gets really hot. Like, it's been hot here, but like, it gets really hot, so I don't know that that's necessarily a great option. They've updated from iDrive 7 to iDrive 8, and you get this screen going all the way across. It does have a bit of a tacked on feeling. I wish they would have just kept them separate and just had the two different screens, though before the infotainment was a little bit tacked on as well. So just not my favorite when it looks like they just took an iPad and stuck it on there. But other than that, the system works really nice. Again, very appealing to the eye, very easy to use. Really no issues with how this thing is laid out. Your display setting, you can adjust really everything. You can use, there's a preconditioning feature that you can set up. You can either set it up on a schedule, or you can set it up when you turn the car off. It'll prompt you to say, start the car back up at 2:15. Set the air conditioning to 68 degrees and the fan to 4 or whatever next time I get in the car at 2:15, or like when I'm about to get in the car. So that's a pretty cool feature. I like that they have that. You can set that up within your profile as well, and that is tied into your remote start as well. Your heated seats are through here. That is an option that is optioned on this particular car, but it's super hot. Have not been using those, but that is buried in this menu. There are no ventilated seats at all, period, in the M340i, which I think is a little bit strange, because now a lot of like lower level economy level cars are coming with ventilated seats. But either way, your fan and your climate control stuff is buried in here, which is a little bit frustrating. You know, you can use the voice control, but it takes a while. It takes like 3, 4, 5 seconds. Let it process what you said, tell you, okay, I'm gonna do that, and then actually do it. I wish I could just press a button. They did it well in the Lexus NX, where at the bottom, you always had your climate control available at the bottom of the screen. But otherwise, you know, works well, visually appealing, not really any other issues with that. You can adjust your safety settings as well. We get into that as we get into the driving portion. But as far as the rest of the interior, back seats, 35.4 inches, a little bit on the tight side, but plenty of space for short trips. Fine for me, I'm only 5'7". I can fit fine behind myself. I've got forward facing seats back there, no problems there. Really, you know, it's totally fine for the daily drive for around town if somebody is back there. Seats are super comfortable, no issues there. Power adjustable. You've got the thigh extensions as well. You can adjust the bolsters, you can adjust everything. Very comfortable seat, no problems there. You know, a great interior overall. Really a nice place to spend your commute. So as I mentioned, I was in the M340i last year. That was the xDrive, the all-wheel drive. This is the S-Drive or rear-wheel drive version. Though there's no S-Drive badge, there's just a lack of an xDrive badge on the back. And I really loved that car. It was just a quick dealership test drive, so I didn't really get to get the full picture. I didn't really get to push it. I didn't really get to daily drive it and put it on in all kinds of situations. Thank you for BMW for letting me get a full picture of this one, the facelifted version, because I've had this one for about a week. I've been daily driving it and I've been able to push it a little bit. So as I mentioned, we've got the B58 motor. It's making 382 horsepower, 368 pound-feet of torque. 4.4 seconds is the reported 0 to 60 time in this one. But as always, BMW does sort of tend to make those numbers a little bit lower than they actually are in real life. So if you check out dyno sheets and such, then you probably are getting more power out of it than that 382. And the B58 motor is a great motor. It's proven to be reliable. It is proven to be pretty stout, and it's great in terms of power delivery. This one has the twin turbos as well. You've got so much power available all the time. It's down, available, low in your rev range, and really all the way through your tach. You can feel it pushing hard. You don't have any big dips or anything in the power. And this one actually is a mild hybrid system, so that is not the same as a full-on hybrid. It means it's got a 48-volt electric motor. This is something that they added last year for 2022. It helps a little bit in terms of efficiency, but really the biggest place you see that help is in the auto start-stop system. The mild hybrid system, you know, that electric motor can kick in and be ready to go right away. You don't have to wait for the engine to fully spark back up and get ready to go. The throttle is very responsive. I think that 48-volt electric motor helps a lot with that. It helps mitigate things like waiting for the turbo to spool up, and just lag in general. And if you want to push on it a little bit, if you want to drive it hard, you know, you need to be able to stop quickly. And the brakes here, BMW brakes tend to be a little bit on the touchy side. I don't mind that because they do stop very, very well. So there's a lot of confidence there when you are driving a little bit on the harder side, or if you are in an emergency situation and you need to stop quickly. Plenty of confidence going on there. Now, I mentioned the different driving modes. You have an Eco, you have a Sport, and you have a Comfort, but actually the Eco also has an individual mode that you can program through here, and the Sport is actually split into 3 different modes. So there's a standard Sport, there's a Sport Plus, and then there is a Sport Individual that you can configure and set up through here. That'll let you adjust how aggressive you want the transmission to be. That will allow you to adjust your steering. It'll allow you to adjust your suspension feel, because this one does have the adaptive suspension. That is something I would definitely recommend. So the standard sort of M Sport suspension is a little bit on the stiff side. It does make the daily drive a little bit rougher. It makes the ride a little bit rougher in general. That combined with these banana peel thin tires, you know, there's like no sidewall in these tires. So that does make the ride a little bit rougher. But the adaptive suspension does help quite a bit. Generally, the steering is a little bit on the heavier side, even in comfort mode. But like I said, you can adjust that if you want it to be lighter. If you want it to be heavier, you pop it in a Sport, Sport Plus, or in that Sport Individual, you can adjust it yourself. And I love this steering wheel. As I mentioned, I love the big beefy steering wheel, and I love that heaviness, even if it is artificial. It is, electronic power steering. It adds to the engagement a little bit, even if it is not 100% communication. It's just artificial heaviness. This transmission, this is a ZF 8-speed transmission. This is really, this is your gold standard in automatic transmissions, in like traditional torque converter automatic transmissions, because it's better for a daily drive than a dual clutch. Like a dual clutch is going to be better in sporty situations, generally speaking, and more aggressive driving, generally speaking. But then once you get into traffic, it gets kind of jerky, and it's not the greatest for a daily driver, the dual clutch. But a traditional torque converter automatic will be much better, much smoother in traffic, but it's usually not as good in those more sporty and performance situations. But this one is pretty damn close. Like, it's very responsive, it's very quick. You've got your paddle shifters here if you want to do the shifting for yourself, but the shifts are snappy on the upshift and the downshift. Really have no problems with it. You're not going to want to put it in sport mode if you're driving around town, basically, because it's going to be really aggressive. It's going to be jerky in traffic. I mentioned you do have these paddles. If you want to use those, you're going to want to pop your transmission shifter nub thing down here down into S mode from the regular drive, the D mode. You don't do that, then you'll hit a paddle, and then like a couple seconds later it'll drop it back into automatic mode. It does have the M Sport differential as well, so this one is rear drive. This is not the all-wheel drive, this is not the xDrive, it's rear wheel drive. You're worried about wheel slip. It does have that limited slip differential. It's called the M Sport differential in BMW terms. In terms of safety features, it does have your standard, your blind spot monitoring, your rear cross traffic alert. This one's decked out with all of the extra driver's assist, the active drive assist, the lane keep assist, all that extra stuff, pre-collision warning, your pre-collision braking, all of that. And everything is customizable though, because if you want your blind spot monitoring to be a little more aggressive, a little less aggressive, you can change that. If you don't want steering intervention for the lane keep, then you can turn that off. If you want it to vibrate through the steering wheel for the lane keep assist, then you can turn that on. You can set it to low or more aggressive. You can adjust everything. So if you're somebody that really likes all of those features intervening, then you turn those way up. And if you're not so into that, then you can tell them to get out of the way. So as an overall experience, I still love this car. I loved it last year, even though I just drove it briefly. But I love the idea of having a car that does everything well, but it leans a little bit to the side of performance, because I am generally a one-car person, just the way my life is right now. And so I need one car that does everything. It does sacrifice a little bit in terms of ride quality. We've got the banana peel thin tires. We've got the sporty suspension, but adaptive suspension does help a little bit, as I mentioned. It really is totally fine for the daily drive, totally fine for my kids, my wife. No one has complained about the ride quality, period. It's just something I've noticed jumping in and out of a lot of cars. Seats are comfortable, the luxury features are great. Ventilated seats would be nice, just because a lot of other cars have that nowadays, and it seems like something that's in the luxury realm here should probably at least have that as an option. Can't say I'm the biggest fan of the updated styles or the updated gear shift, but the iDrive 8 is definitely a big improvement over iDrive 7. And just generally speaking, it's just this car just does so many things well. So personally, I may lean a little bit towards last year, towards the pre-facelift, but it's really little things, and it's not something that's going to affect the way it drives, so you really can't go wrong either way. As we start getting up in the price point, that's when I start to have a little bit more of an issue with this. So at $55,000 where this car starts, this is a great car. Even pushing up into 60,000, it's a really good car. This one is optioned out to just under $67,000. You know, if you are someone that leans more towards performance, I'd be looking really hard at a CT4 Blackwing at this price point, because those start at 60. You know, once you option it out, you're probably around the same at 65, 66, 67, somewhere in this general range. So that's really, you know, that's where this starts getting a little bit tough. But if you're someone that wants quality, you know, a nicer interior, nicer materials, nicer things in general, then this is going to be the way to go. You know, this one is much nicer inside just than that Blackwing. That one leans a little bit more towards performance. So those are the two that I would cross drop here. Or if you want less performance, if you want more comfort, then you go into something like G70. You can go into an IS350 if you want all the way at the comfort end of the spectrum, with just a little bit of extra speed and that added reliability. Or, you know, the TLX Type S is a little bit of a step up in terms of performance, with still mostly sort of comfort oriented. But at the end of the day, this like really could be the sweet spot for a lot of people. That's all I got for this week. Thanks for watching. As always, please make sure to hit all the YouTube buttons, the like, the subscribe, the share, the everything. You know, stick around if you want to see what I'm driving next week. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your friend's mom, tell everybody. And thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.